In today's video, the unhealthy side of competition.
All by myself.
Hey guys, what's going on? This is Paul Ravella from ProPhysique.com, and today's video is on the topic of competition as a healthy or unhealthy outlet. The reason I want to talk about this is I've been getting some messages lately from people on the internet, either in Instagram direct messages or clients, pointing out to me that there's a movement going on where people are discussing competing as it relates to them and how it was an unhealthy relationship, that they didn't do well with it, and that they feel as a whole competing and bodybuilding is unhealthy. And so I want to discuss that and my text message going off in the middle of the video. But mostly I want to discuss my thoughts and my opinions, as I've got a couple different views on the topic. I, as an athlete, have competed and gotten insanely lean. I have coached hundreds of people to the stage to get them insanely lean. And I've also worked with people who have come from a place where I felt like they were very unhealthy, they had taken an unhealthy approach and corrected it, okay? Now, I by no means am saying that I have all the answers, but I do feel like I have a very good overall approach, not only to the physiology, but the psychology behind competing. Because I think sometimes people think you can disconnect the two. You cannot. The psychology and the physiology of a person are very connected. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means if someone is unhappy emotionally, it's going to relate on their physical appearance as well. And if they're unhappy with the way they look, it's going to relate to their emotional side as well. So what we really have to do is take care of each person that we work with as an individual. So let's talk about bodybuilding competitions as a sport. Now, when I talk about bodybuilding, I'm talking about all things competition relating, meaning bikini, figure, fitness, men's physique, classic physique, whatever it is. If you get on a stage in your underwear and you get judged by strangers, that's bodybuilding competition. So let's talk about it from a few different perspectives. I'll start where I come from, how I got involved in it. I was bored at the gym. I was going to the gym every day. I was training really hard. I felt like I was putting on muscle. I was training around some guys that I would consider to be, you know, pretty high level, like bodybuilder types. And finally one day, a guy in the gym, who I didn't really know that well, but he was a trainer there, approached me and said, "Hey man, have you considered doing a bodybuilding competition?" And at the time I thought, no, I can't do that. I just don't look like those bodybuilders. I've seen them and I don't look like them. And he said, "Well, have you ever been to a show?" And I said, "No, I haven't." So what I did was I found a local show and I attended, and I was immediately drawn to the guys on stage because I realized, oh, you don't have to look like Phil Heath or Jay Cutler or Ronnie Coleman. You know, at the time, I just had this image of all the guys in the magazines, because when you see pictures in the magazines, or at least when I did, because I'm an old guy, but maybe even now, you see people on Instagram posting their best pictures and their stage shots. You tend to only see the best people in the world. Well, you don't see soccer mom Sally, who shows up to the show, who busted her butt and looks amazing, but she's just not going to be Miss Bikini Olympia. There's a whole side to this sport that has to do with not being the best in the world. And that's what I was drawn to. I thought, wow, these people look great, and maybe I could even be competitive, and maybe I could even get a trophy. So 1 year after attending my first show, I competed in it, okay? I planned out the whole year. I started working with a coach. I spent time in a bulking phase, building up my metabolism, doing all the right stuff. Then I dieted down using a flexible diet approach, which at the time in 2008 was a bit crazy. No one was really doing it at the time, but I worked with Lane Norton, who did a wonderful job making sure I didn't really develop eating disorders, and I feel like flexible dieting really is a much more sustainable approach, and we'll get into that a little bit more. And so I did the show. I actually competed in men's bodybuilding in a novice class, and I won. And for me, it allowed me to stay motivated for that entire year. I found the next level of drive. I found that I got better at time management. I found that I stopped making excuses. I found that I stopped missing the gym. I started being accountable to myself. I started realizing that I had a lot more ability to control my life than I thought. I stopped saying things like it was somebody else's fault. It was now on me to manage every single part of my day. I got better as a friend. I got better as an employee. I became a better person because I took the dive into competing. So for me, was it a healthy choice? Yes. Were there times where I was maybe less than healthy? For sure. And here's why. Because bodybuilding competition is not a health competition. It's not the healthiest person on stage. It's generally the leanest person on stage that wins. And to get that lean, you have to go well below what your body wants you to do. I would almost compare it to being overweight. You're that out of range with being healthy. Overweight people still function, they still get by, but they have problems. People that are shredded, 5% body fat for men, crazy shredded. I got really lean. If I can find some pictures, I'll post them here. I also suffered. I had low energy. I was suffering in the gym with strength. My clothes, they didn't fit. I became baggy. People started asking me if I was still working out. My family asked if I was sick when they saw me with my bony cheeks. And so was I healthy? Probably not that healthy for the last couple of weeks. When you get below that set point and your body is just fighting you and you're hungry and you're irritable and all the things that are going on, you're not healthy. It's not meant to be a health contest. So why did I do it? It was to prove it to myself. I set a goal and I achieved it. And there's something very powerful in that. And I don't want that to be overlooked. So when does the sport become unhealthy? I believe the sport becomes unhealthy when you become addicted to the stage, when you become addicted to the result, and when you psychologically can't deal with the fact that maybe you don't look like the person you want to look like, or you're not getting the results that they're getting. And so you start going through like depression and anger and anxiety. Now, did I have goals to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger when I first competed? Of course. But since then, I've come to the realization that there's just such a vast variety in the human condition that, you know what? I'm not capable of looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger or Doug Miller, but you know what I can look like? A slightly better version of me, and that's what drives me. And the process of getting on stage, while taxing, while difficult, also leads to some pretty cool stuff, okay? I like the look. I like looking shredded. I feel like it adds value to me. It adds value to my journey. I enjoy the process. And so let's talk about something other than me. Let's talk about my clients. Let's talk about the people that go through me to get to this stage. What do I do to ensure they're healthy? Well, the first and foremost thing that we have to do is look at their overall approach to the sport, okay? If someone's doing hours and hours of cardio a week year-round on ultra low calories and they don't understand that their metabolism adapts, that their hormones adapt, that the human body compensates for anything that you put it through, well then I need to educate them, okay? Staying contest lean year-round is not realistic. Doing competitions year-round is not realistic. Competing every year, year after year, is not going to lead to a good place. Bad things will happen if that is your approach. So what do? We schedule time off. We schedule time away from the stage. We schedule time to walk the calories up, to get back in the gym. Because remember what this is called: bodybuilding. It's not called stay shredded. Okay, it's bodybuilding. And the only time you're building muscle is when you're eating in a caloric surplus, your hormones are in a good place, your psychology is in a good place, you're enjoying the gym. Now, that's not the most fun time for most of us. For those of us that compete, the most fun is every week getting leaner and leaner, seeing little striations come out, little veins, because wow, you feel like you're seeing big changes. The time when you're in the bodybuilding phase, when you're actually putting on muscle, it's not nearly as fun. You've got a little bit more body fat. You can't really see the visual changes. The only real proof that you're making any progress sometimes can be that you're lifting a little bit more weights. But I'll be honest, I've been lifting weights for over 25 years. I don't see a lot of progress in the gym. So what keeps me going? I don't know. I just fucking love this sport. I love doing this. I love going through this. It's something that's a passion for me. And I understand there's people out there that do not share that passion, and I do not try to force it on them. But what I try to do with everybody that I work with, and even you guys on YouTube, is educate you on the process. There is an adaptation. I have done video after video on metabolic adaptation, on reverse dieting, on how to go in and out of prep in a healthy manner. One of the first things that I was introduced to when I got into coaching was working with people who had been on a meal plan for a long time, and they didn't understand when the show ended how to get out of that. They thought, if I'm on a meal plan, I'm on a meal plan, and if I'm off, F it, I'm going to eat whatever I want to because the diet starts again tomorrow. So it became my mission to make flexible dieting an approach that's sustainable for life. What is flexible dieting? It's a system of replacing foods so you don't fear foods. There are no good foods, there are no bad foods. And so that's sustainable for me because in my mind, I'm helping people understand that they don't have to fear food or put food with a label of good or bad. They simply use food at their discretion. Does this work for everybody? No. I'm not a psychologist. I do my best. I try with every single client to do my best. Some don't communicate with me as well. Maybe I don't communicate with them as well. Maybe I'm not communicating with you as well because I'm not getting through to you. But my point being is that I try, and I'm always trying to figure out new ways. I speak to people who have more education than me. People like Dr. Joe Klemczewski, Dr. Corey Probst, okay? People that have been doing this longer than me. Yes, believe it or not, there are people that have been doing this coaching thing longer than me. And so the process of doing things in a healthy manner, it's all about setting your expectations, understanding what the process is going to look like, and then deciding if you want to continue. I've certainly worked with my share of clients that it was impossible to get them lean enough, and when the show was over, they suffered and they didn't do well. The sport is not for everybody, okay? This is a judgmental sport. It's a very subjective sport. You can have the best prep ever, look the best you've ever looked, and be last place because everybody else on stage is better than you. There's some things that are out of your control. I can want to play in the NBA, but I'm only 6'3", which is midget status by NBA standards. Doesn't mean I can play center for the Orlando Magic, right guys? So we have to understand that if you're not going to be able to deal with disappointment and deal with this sport as it pertains to your psychological approach, it might not be the best for you, but how will you ever know that unless you go through it? I found my passion when I'd found the bodybuilding stage. I freaking love it. It's all about my commitment to myself, my decisions on a day-to-day basis. I control them. And it empowered me to be better, a better person. Like I said, a better friend. I'm a better husband, a better father, a better business owner, a better mentor to my coaches, a better coach to my clients. I dare anybody who does not compete in bodybuilding to coach competitors. It is a terrible idea. You do not understand what competitors are going through. If you work with a coach who puts you on hours and hours of cardio and has himself or herself never done hours and hours of cardio, then shame on that coach because they don't actually understand what the hell they're doing. Writing things down on an email or a piece of paper and sending it to you. Sure, do 50 grams of carbs a day for the next 6 months and 2 hours of cardio when you wake up and 2 hours of cardio when you go to bed. Sure, sounds great, but they themselves have never done it. So make sure that you're going through this process with someone that understands. There's a lot more information out there nowadays, guys. And so it's available. Find someone that has a philosophy. Don't rush into it. Like I said, my first show was a year after, okay? And how many times have I competed? I competed in 2008, 2009, 2012, 2015, and now I'm going to compete in 2018, potentially. Look at the gap. 3 years. 1 year between my first 2 shows. It was actually a year and a half. And then 3 years between the next 2. Why? Because it was hard. It was hard on my body. It was hard on my mind. I remember, you know, when you get so lean, I started looking at the guys that were like, you know, walking around the gym all big and puffy cheeked, and I thought that looked good. Well, I've had enough of being puffy cheeked, and now I'm ready to get shredded again and do a show. So, you know, I've allowed myself to come in and out of these shows. The real danger, I feel like, is fighting your body, fighting yourself, and doing things that are unnatural for your physique, okay? Granted, you can do anything you put your mind to, but you have to do it in an intelligent manner, okay? You have to understand the process to go through it. And, you know, that's my take. That's my take. Is competing completely healthy? No. Can it be part of a healthy life? Yes. Is driving race cars healthy? No, they're going 200 miles an hour. Is putting on a helmet and smashing into 300-pound offensive linemen healthy? No, but they do it anyway, okay? Not everything that we do in life is going to be healthy all the time. In fact, I'd say some of the greatest things that we do in this world are not healthy. Jumping out of an airplane, that wouldn't be considered healthy, right? But they're things that we do out of love and passion and joy. And there's always going to be a little bit of risk involved when you're getting into things that are not sitting on the couch. And if you want to live a life sitting on the couch, good. But don't expect everyone else to have that same goal. That's gonna be it for me today, guys. I hope you're having an awesome Thursday, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.
All by myself.